The crucifixion of Jesus was not only a moment of physical suffering, but also one of intense humiliation and emotional pain. As Jesus hung on the cross, his body torn and bleeding, the people around him did not show sympathy or silence. Instead, they filled the air with mockery, insults, and laughter. What should have been a moment of reflection and sorrow became a scene of cruelty and ridicule. The Gospel records tell us that people passing by shook their heads and shouted, "You who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself." They challenged him, saying, "If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." These words were not innocent questions. They were spoken with hatred and disbelief. The crowd treated Jesus' suffering as entertainment, mocking the very claim that he had preached throughout his ministry. The religious leaders, the chief priests, scribes, and elders also joined in the mocking. These were the same people who had accused him and demanded his death. They stood near the cross and said, "He saved others, but he cannot save himself." With sarcasm, they added, "If he is the King of Israel, let him come down now, and we will believe in him." Their words revealed their hardened hearts. They had seen his miracles, heard his teachings, and witnessed his compassion. Yet they refused to believe. Instead of recognizing the fulfillment of prophecy, they chose to insult him in his final moments. Even the Roman soldiers, who were simply carrying out their duty, took part in the humiliation. After nailing Jesus to the cross, they divided his clothes and gambled for his garments. They offered him sour wine and said mockingly, "If you are the King of the Jews, save yourself." Above his head, they placed a sign that read, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." What the soldiers meant as mockery, God used as a declaration of truth. The sign proclaimed his kingship to everyone who passed by. Perhaps the most painful insult came from one of the criminals crucified beside him. As he hung on his own cross, suffering the same fate, he still found the strength to mock Jesus, saying, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." Even in death, hatred remained in his heart. Yet, in contrast, the other criminal rebuked him and turned to Jesus with faith, saying, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." In that moment, Jesus responded with mercy. "Today, you will be with me in paradise." While the world mocked him, Jesus continued to offer forgiveness and salvation. Despite all the insults, Jesus never spoke words of anger or revenge. Instead, he prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." This prayer revealed the depth of his love and his mission. Jesus was not trapped or defeated. He remained there willingly, choosing to endure suffering for the sake of humanity. The mockers believed his inability to escape proved weakness, but the truth was the opposite. His love kept him on the cross, not the nails. The mocking fulfilled ancient prophecies written centuries before his birth. Psalm 22 describes the Messiah being surrounded by enemies who mock him, shake their heads, and say, "He trusts in the Lord. Let the Lord rescue him." Isaiah 53 speaks of the suffering servant who would be despised and rejected by men. Every insult spoken that day confirmed that Jesus was the promised Messiah. The very words meant to shame him became evidence of God's plan. This moment also reveals the nature of humanity. The crowd represents how people often respond to truth they do not want to accept. Instead of humbling themselves, they choose pride and mock what they don't understand. The leaders reveal how jealousy and the soldiers show how cruelty can become normal when compassion is lost. And the criminal who insulted Jesus shows how bitterness can remain even at the edge of death. Yet the cross also reveals the heart of God. In the face of hatred, Jesus offered forgiveness. In the midst of suffering, he showed love. While the world mocked him, he opened the way for salvation. The cross became a symbol not of defeat, but of victory. The insults could not silence his purpose. The laughter of the crowd could not stop redemption. The mocking voices faded, but his sacrifice changed the world forever. Today, millions remember the cross not as a moment of shame, but as the greatest act of love in history. The same Jesus who was mocked, rejected, and crucified is now worshipped as Lord and King. The people who once laughed at him never expected that his name would be honored across nations, cultures, and generations. The story of Jesus being mocked on the cross teaches us a powerful lesson. True strength is not shown by escaping suffering, but by enduring it for a greater purpose. Jesus could have come down from the cross, but he stayed for you, for me, and for all humanity. His love was stronger than the insults, stronger than the pain, and stronger than death itself. Beyond the physical and emotional humiliation, the mocking of Jesus on the cross reveals a deeper spiritual battle taking place. The cross was not just a Roman execution, it was the center of God's plan for salvation. While people saw weakness, heaven saw victory. The crowd believed they were watching the end of a failed teacher, but in reality, they were witnessing the moment when sin and death were being defeated. Satan thought he had won, using hatred and mockery to break Jesus' spirit. But every insult spoken only highlighted the darkness that Jesus came to overcome. At the foot of the cross stood different groups of people, each reacting in their own way. Some mocked, some watched silently, and some wept. Among them was Mary, the mother of Jesus, experiencing unimaginable pain as she saw her son suffering. She had once held him as a baby, heard the angels promise that he would be the Savior, and watched him grow in wisdom and grace. Now she stood helpless, hearing others insult the child she loved. Her silence speaks louder than the voices around her. It shows a mother's deep faith and sorrow, trusting God even when she didn't understand. Standing beside her was the disciple John, one of the few followers who did not run away. While others hid in fear, John remained near the cross. Jesus looked down at them and said, "Woman, behold your son," and to John, "Behold your mother." Even in his agony, Jesus cared for his family and his followers. While the world mocked him, he was still showing love, compassion, and responsibility. This moment reveals the heart of Jesus. Even while suffering, he thought about others rather than himself.